That was the sound of a grenade in downtown San Diego in a battle that lasted more than 4 hours and cost the lives of 2 men. The Kogo News Department presents Shootout in San Diego, a special report on the tragic drama which followed a hold-up attempt today. This report is brought to you by the 3 Southland Savings and Loan Associations of San Diego, 3 of 15 wholly owned subsidiaries of the San Diego Imperial Corporation. Now here is Frank Van Cleve.
The first word of the beginning of the events that were to follow came from a man who had just parked his auto near the Hub Loan and Jewelry Company, which is located at 5th Avenue and F Streets in downtown San Diego. This is Tony Saito as he told his story.
And I looked in the doorway, and this man was lying with his face down, and he was bleeding, and his glasses were on the sidewalk. I heard him call police, and I looked down at him and looked in the store, and I saw this man with his back towards me. So I went to the William Penn Hotel, which is right next door, and I asked the desk clerk to call the police because there was a man that was shot. So I left the William Penn Hotel, and I glanced down at the man again, and I was going to get in my car, and about that time I figured it'd be best to get in the cover, of which I did. And it wasn't but a few minutes later when the police arrived.
That was about 10 this morning. In a few minutes, the corner of 5th and E looked like this as more than 65 police officers arrived on the scene to try to get the gunman to surrender and to keep back the crowds of spectators who gathered so that none of them would be hurt. The officers managed to remove the gunman's victim. At that time, nobody was sure of his identity. Later, it was learned that he was 62-year-old Lewis Richards, an employee of the loan company. Officers feared that there were others inside the building with the gunman, but before they could discover that fact for sure or know whether they were alive, another tragedy claimed their attention. A man soon to be identified as 50-year-old Robert Crandall, editor of the San Diego Independent newspaper, lay on the pavement. The first thought was that he had been hit by a bullet, but he had fallen victim of a heart attack. And though he was rushed quickly to a hospital, it was too late. He was as dead as if he had been killed by a bullet. There was no sign of surrender by the gunman inside the building, and the officers continued their fire, using all the weapons at their command. For officers and for news cameramen like George Potter, it was a place of danger with the knowledge that one of the bullets, which came speeding out of the building, might take a third life. Earlier, police had called for an armored car to be brought up in front of the loan company. 4 policemen got inside and went directly up to the building to fire and try to see the man they were firing at. Tear gas was shot into the building, but the wind whipped it back in the direction of the police, and the officers in the armored car had to retreat.
Oh, they didn't get him. They didn't
For Sergeant Samuel Chastain of the San Diego Police Department, this April 8th almost became his rendezvous with death. Firing through a wall from a doorway alongside the loan office, Sergeant Chastain suddenly staggered and fell. But even as he was rushed to a hospital, his fellow officers had the good word that his wound was slight on the forehead. But at that point, nobody knew whether he had been shot, or whether he had been hit by glass, or whether he had moved quickly and had struck his head. Police had one more weapon in their arsenal, or in the arsenal available to them. At their request, Navy gunner's mate Frank Morales and a supply of concussion grenades arrived. Morales and officers wearing bulletproof vests prepared for grenade throwing, and Morales threw his grenade. Another grenade was thrown, and police followed it inside. The gunman still was not visible. And on the mezzanine upstairs they found him, and Sergeant Alan Brown followed him into a passageway, shot at him as the gunman tried to fire at him. And the gunman, badly wounded, was brought out to the street. Rushed to County Hospital, he was identified by police as Robert Anderson, whose home is at 3211 Webster Street, and who, police say, has a record as a narcotics addict. At this moment, he is listed in critical condition at County Hospital. There was a man inside the building with the gunman, and miraculously he had escaped uninjured. 52-year-old Ted Swinty, a 2-year employee of the company, had taken refuge in a protected spot on the mezzanine. Tonight he told Chuck Rosie the gunman had taken one shot at him, but had missed. Tonight also, Sergeant Chastain is sleeping soundly in Mercy Hospital in good condition. In a moment now, we'll have Sergeant Alan Brown, the police officer who captured Anderson. Well, as we have reported, the San Diego Police Department deserves a great deal of credit for the action that they undertook today in San Diego during this nearly 4-hour gun battle. To single out one individual in the San Diego Police Department would not do justice to all of the men involved. We have one man with us tonight, mainly because he was involved in actually apprehending the suspect the very final moments that played out the gun battle. He is Sergeant Alan Brown of the San Diego Police Department, and with him is his wife, Mrs. Brown. Well, Sergeant, we are very happy that you could come by and give us some vivid descriptions, as you already have in conversations that we've had, of what happened today. We have now taken the action up to the point where you were entering the store. What happened after that?
Well, just prior to entering, this Navy gunner's mate threw this concussion grenade in the store, and it detonated and blew the remaining glass out of the windows, and I immediately rushed in, followed by Officer Augustine. We were carrying shotguns, and we felt that if the man was knocked unconscious, that we wanted to get him before he came to. The inside was a complete shambles, and there were several small fires started by the concussion grenade. And I rushed to the rear of the store, and this man wasn't in sight, and then to the right was a room, and I entered this room. I couldn't see him, and then a second room again off to my right, very dark, and he could have been in there. So I fired several rounds of the shotgun to wound him if he was in there, and tried to turn some lights on so I could see, and there were no lights available, so we called for flashlights, and then the flashlights came. I went in and checked the room. He wasn't there, and then to my left was a staircase going up into the mezzanine. So I started up the steps to go to the mezzanine, and the suspect fired at me, and I came back down and told him that if he didn't surrender to save his life, that we were going to throw a grenade up there. Then I threw several packages of written material up there later, hoping that he would hear this and surrender or fire or expose himself in some manner or another, but he never made a move. So another concussion grenade was brought in, and the gunner's mate threw this up into the mezzanine, and right after it went off, I started up the stairs, and he fired at me again. So I dropped back down the stairs, and we fired several rounds through the ceiling and trying to pinpoint his location so that we could get him from down below, but we were unsuccessful. Then I heard him shouting and firing at officers out in the street, and the officers were firing back. So I went up the stairs, and directly behind me was Sergeant Sweetall, who was off duty and heard of this incident. He covered in. Behind Sergeant Sweetall was Officer Augustine, who had been with me throughout the tight operation, and Lieutenant Clarence Myers, who was right there with us. And I got up the top and into the mezzanine. It led to another door to my right, and this was all heavily partitioned, and that's why this concussion grenade second one didn't get him. And I ran across the door, and then I looked back to my right, and I saw the suspect hiding behind the door with his pistol. I fired 2 rounds in there and drove him from this area further back into a dark corridor, and he fled about 15 feet and went to the right and ducked behind another partition. So I went after him, and as I rounded the corner, there he was with a pistol in his hand, and I had my shotgun in a ready position, and I just held the trigger back and pumped the pump, and they tell me that I fired 4 rounds.
It was sure at the time.
It was that fast. I just emptied the gun at him. He was about 4 feet from me.
Mrs. Brown, your husband now has been standing here and giving us this fantastic, vivid description of an extreme danger that he had faced this afternoon as a police officer here in San Diego. Has he told you any of this before now? Have you heard any of the description that he is giving us?
Yes, I heard it. We talked of it earlier this evening. He told me some, but I didn't hear it until late this afternoon. And
what are your thoughts as the wife of a police officer? Do you realize that he's going to have to face danger like this?
yes, and it's a worry each time they go on duty, but you always feel that everything will be all right. They have their heart in it, and he's happy and does a very good job, and I know that everything will be all right.
Sergeant and Mrs. Brown, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Incidentally, the Browns have a son who is following in the sergeant's footsteps. He is in police training. We have just checked County Hospital. The gunman has just come out of more than 5 hours of surgery. The hospital says he suffered severe abdominal wounds and arm wounds. He was conscious before he went into surgery, but he would not discuss the events of the day. He even refused to confirm that his name is Robert Anderson. He will be charged with murder and attempted robbery if he lives. His condition remains critical. Until this moment, that is the story of today's shootout in San Diego, a grim drama which cost 2 lives and may cost a third, which put 1 policeman into the hospital and put dozens of other police officers and innocent hostages in jeopardy of their lives. A drama seldom played out in San Diego, and one which we hope will not be played out again.
This has been Shootout in San Diego, a special report on today's gun battle in downtown San Diego. This report was brought to you by the 3 Southland Savings and Loan Associations, 3 of 15 wholly owned subsidiaries of San Diego Imperial Corporation. The film shown in this report was shot by Channel 10 cameraman Les Dodds, George Potter, Art Farian, Jack Moorhead, and Bob Kraft. Now stay tuned for more news.
One of the officers with a better vantage point than the ones we're looking at now have said he may be in the far rear corner. Move the armored truck back and try shooting on that side. So they're moving it back now for a better vantage point, hoping to be able to spray the inside. While all of this firing is going on, inside the police ambulance, right behind the armored car, the body of the credit manager of the outfit killed when this fighting began. This armored car has been backed up alongside the store. Repeatedly, the suspect inside has been told to come out. He's refused. A high-powered rifle is being aimed out the side of this car. You can just barely see the barrel sticking out the side of the armored car now, plowing away at inside. Inside, now and then you hear the tinkling of glass. What's the difficulty? Why aren't you able to get through?
We stand behind a concrete pillar, and we can't throw shots in at him.
I've seen you lob some tear gas shells, and then why aren't they being effective?
He seems to be getting fat on him. That's the only thing I can say. It's not doing a bit of good for him.
Is there a possibility he has a gas mask?
It's a possibility. We've never seen him.
This has been going on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. How many rounds of ammunition have been fired into that building?
I couldn't guess. I wouldn't have any idea.
Hundreds.
In the hundreds.
How many would you say he's answered back to?
Oh, he just pokes his hand around this corner and fires every once in a while. When we first got here, he fired 4 right through the window at us. But that's just intermittent shooting. I don't know what he's shooting at now.
Is there an unlimited supply in there of ammunition for him? What is your name, please?
Morales, Frank W. Work with the Show Patrol headquarters here in San Diego.
You're the man who tossed in the concussion grenade?
That's affirmative.
What is the purpose of a concussion grenade? How does it work? What do you expect it to do?
Well, they can make a hole in the brick wall there, knock a man off his feet. If he's protected, well, it won't hurt him. But if he's not protected, it'll kill him or knock him down.
And they think he's up now from where he was before, up second floor mezzanine.
Right. They think he's up on the second deck. And as soon as the police give me cover, I'll try to go up there and lob the hand grenade.
This thing you're wearing,
It's a bulletproof vest. It'll just stop the bullet here. If you don't shoot at my head, I'm all right.
Well, it happened so doggone fast that 1 minute I was selling him a gun, and the next minute he grabbed a box of shells and took the gun and said, "I'm going to blast your brains out, USBs." And that was it. But the first shot, just my luck, was the first shot he fired at Mr. Richards. And I don't know, at the same time he turned to fire at him, I dropped behind the counter, and so I never even seen Mr. Richards after that.
What did you do then after dropping behind the counter?
Well, I crawled off to the door and tried to make my escape out the mezzanine. Upstairs, fouled up on that as he come right behind me and fired a shot at me at the top of the stairs. So instead of turning to my left, I turned to my right and trying to find a place to hide, and finally managed to crawl under a bed. It was kept up there for relaxation, and that's just my luck that it wasn't found.
Inspector Colburn, what were the problems that caused you to use such a wide variety of weapons and techniques?
Well, Harold, we had two problems. We had, first of all, a tremendous amount of personnel involved in acting on instructions from Chief Sharp. He advised me that he didn't wish any heroics. He didn't want any officers injured, and that we would wait the man out. That, in addition to the fact that we were not real familiar with the physical layout of the building, slowed us down considerably on it.
Then he started firing out through the windows out in front, and I could hear officers shouting out there and shots going on. I then went up the stairs again, feeling that the suspect was distracted from me. Sergeant Sweetall was right behind me, and Lieutenant Clarence Myers was behind him, and Officer Augustine was behind him. We were just a mass of men going up the stairs. So I got up to the top of the stairs. I could hear the suspect. He moved off to my right, behind the door. I fired 2 rounds with the shotgun into this door area, and he fled down a narrow, dark passageway there and disappeared to the right. So I went after him, and as I got down there, it was much darker. I rounded a corner, and he was standing there with a pistol in his hand, and I emptied my
Cliff Kirk in a building that is being demolished across the street from the Hub Loan Company at 5th and F. As you can see, the loan company on the corner, the police have moved an armored truck near the front of the loan company. A police car in that station wagon car, the police car, there is a dead man, the man who was shot by the suspect. A man, I understand, who had worked for the loan company for a number of years. Now the police ambulance car is pulling away from the scene. You can see the bullet-ridden window in the front of the Hub Loan Company. Police throughout the morning and afternoon have been firing rifles, tear gas grenades in through the window and through the door. The man refuses to come out. Evidently there's quite a stock of weapons inside the loan company, and he must have a source of ammunition because every once in a while we hear a volley from inside. On where? Oh, yeah. As you can see, one of the best shields for the policeman is the automobile. You can see the policeman crouched behind the police car and another policeman behind the armored truck in front of the loan company. Throughout the morning and the afternoon, the crowds have been gathering as close as they can get to this dramatic action, even though the police have continually warned spectators, curiosity seekers, to stay away from the scene. It seems that the one thing which may deter them is the rain, which is coming down now. This rain started about 10 minutes ago. It is now 5 minutes past 1 o'clock.
Thank you.